This is a video explaining all the methods of fusion in Dragon Ball. Yes, this video has been done in the past by people much more knowledgeable than me, but most of those videos were made before Dragon Ball Super ended, before Dragon Ball Fusion's released, and before Dragon Ball Heroes got really weird. So a lot of the stuff talked about in those videos are a little outdated, so I'm just going to update it a little bit. First of all, let's define fusion. Fusion in all of its forms is the act of at least two characters combining together to become greater than the sum of their parts. To my knowledge, with all if not most cases of fusion seen in and out of the canon series, fusion acts as a multiplier instead of an addition, causing a synergy. Because if it was literally just an addition instead of a multiplier, Goku and Vegeta in a fight with Broly, for example, fusing into Gogeta would do nothing, as the same amount of battle power would still be exerted, it would just be from one body instead of two. With the exception of maybe Super 17, as it is stated that he is only twice the strength of Android 17, but that statement's a bit strange because despite apparently only being worth 2 Android 17s, he was bodying everyone.
Come on! Is that the best you can do?
No.
I don't think anyone is making the argument that fusion is just an addition instead of a multiplier anyway, but I digress. The types of fusion I'm going to be going over in this video include that of the Metamoran fusion dance, otherwise simply known as fusion or the fusion dance, EX fusion, a derivative of the Metamoran fusion dance, freeform fusion, five-way fusion, God fusion, Potara fusion, Namekian fusion or assimilation, absorption, merging, machine mutant fusion, and possession. We'll start from the top and work our way down the list.
Yeah!
The Metamoran fusion dance. First on the list, we have the Metamoran fusion dance, also known simply as fusion. It is arguably the most popular form of fusion in the franchise's entirety. I mean that in both how much people favour the form of fusion, as well as how frequently it is used canonically and non-canonically. The Metamoran fusion technique itself takes the form of a dance that two participants perform and ends with the two becoming one. The technique itself is first spoke of and performed in the Buu saga. The dance is taught to Goten and Trunks by Goku, who was in turn taught this dance whilst he was in Otherworld after dying during the Cell games. He was taught the dance by the Metamorans, hence why the full name of the technique is the Metamoran fusion dance. The participants of the fusion dance must be of similar or equal power levels, as well as being around the same height. The dance itself must be performed perfectly for the technique to work effectively. If the technique is performed incorrectly, the fusion outcome will be a skinny or fat version of the intended fusion, such as skinny and fat Gotenks and Veku from Fusion Reborn. This is why Goku states that it takes around a week to learn the dance due to how precisely it must be performed. The fusions created by the dance will have combined physical and personality traits of the dance's participants, but the resulting fusion will usually only be wearing the clothes of the Metamorans. We don't know anything about the Metamorans themselves, not even how they look. We only know the clothing that they wear. A black vest with yellow padded shoulders, white trousers or pants if you're American, with a blue sash around the waist and black armbands. There can be slight deviations to this, however, as some fused characters will have slightly different clothing. Gogeta in Fusion Reborn having orange shoulder pads instead of yellow, adult Gotenks in Dragon Ball Heroes having Trunks' shoes, as well as an undershirt, and among plenty of others. The dance also has the downside of having a 30-minute timer. This time limit can also be reduced if the people performing the fusion start the fusion in transformed states, as seen with Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta's timer being shortened to 5 minutes in the fight against Omega Shenron. It may also be possible to forcibly diffuse characters through an ability shown in the Dragon Ball Super manga, aptly named Forced Spirit Fission. This is a technique used by Vegeta, and it allows him to manipulate and separate energy inside a person's body when attacking them. It was used in the fight against Moro to take back the energy he got from draining life from Earth. Canonical uses of the fusion dance are limited. In Dragon Ball Z we saw Goten and Trunks fuse, resulting in Gotenks. As of the latest Dragon Ball Super Broly movie, we saw the canonical version of Gogeta, the fusion of Goku and Vegeta. Despite it only being seen canonically 2 times, the fusion dance has made numerous non-canonical appearances. Fusion Reborn, we saw the first version of Gogeta. Dragon Ball GT, we saw Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. Dragon Ball Heroes has shown Xeno Gogeta, the fusion of Xeno Goku and Xeno Vegeta. Xeno Gohanks, the fusion of Xeno Gohan and Xeno Trunks. Future Gohanks, the fusion of Future Gohan and Future Trunks, my personal favourite fusion dance fusion. Budokai 2 also gave us hypothetical fusions of Tien and Tiancha. There are also techniques derived from the Metamoran fusion dance, such as EX Fusion.
Yeah!
EX Fusion. EX Fusion is seemingly far superior to the traditional dance as it reduces the negatives of the fusion dance while increasing the positives of it. EX Fusion is performed by two participants. They do the same Metamoran fusion dance performed in the traditional fusion dance, but EX Fusions must be performed while wearing a Metamoran ring that was created by Bulma. This ring allows the participants of the fusion to fuse without being similar heights, as well as not needing them to be of similar power levels. It removes that restriction. It also seems that it is impossible, or if not, incredibly difficult to fail an EX fusion, as there aren't any known failed EX fusions. Not only that, it allows the fusions to last as long as possible, as EX fusions also have no time limit. However, it is stated that the fusions created through EX fusion aren't as strong as traditional Metamoran fusions. There are also some limitations on this form of fusion, however, but they are kind of vague. If the fusees don't have an affinity for each other, or aren't an expert in EX fusions like the player character in Dragon Ball Fusions, it may not be possible for them to fuse. Despite this, it is still possible to fuse two characters forcibly, who don't want to fuse together, as seen when Toa forced Goku and Broly to fuse, creating Karoli, my personal favourite EX fusion. EX fusion also combines the clothing of the fusees, unlike the fusion dance, as well as fusing their personalities and physical traits and techniques. EX fusion is unfortunately exclusive to the DS game Dragon Ball Fusions, however, so I doubt it will ever make an appearance anywhere else besides that game, even though it is referenced from time to time, such as in Dragon Ball Heroes, as you can create a card that uses EX Gohanks as a model, which is pretty cool. Due to the ease of EX Fusion and the fact that its only appearance is in one game that centers around the gimmick of fusing every character with each other, there are too many examples for me to give of EX Fusion, so I'll just show off some of my favourites. EX Gogeta, the fusion of Goku and Vegeta. Karoli, the fusion of Goku and Broly. Karoli Black, the fusion of Broly and Rose Goku Black. Great Saiyaman 1-2 or Great Saiyaman 12, the fusion of Great Saiyaman 1 and 2. Cooliza, the fusion of Cooler and Frieza. Barlot, the fusion of Bardock and Goku. Turts, the fusion of Raditz and Turles. Weirus, the fusion of Whis and Beerus, among numerous others. Dragon Ball Fusions is also home of two other fusion types that are exclusive to the game. Next on the list being Freeform Fusion.
Yeah!
Freeform Fusion. Freeform Fusion is exactly the same as EX Fusion, but it removes the restriction of not allowing everyone to fuse due to their affinity. But it differs from EX slightly, as it seems the character who instigated the fusion is more dominant, as the name for the fusion is always just the dominance name with KF simply put in front of it. Not much to say about this type of fusion besides the fact that it requires two DSs to use because it uses a street pass mechanic. You first choose a character who you want to fuse. When walking past someone who also has street pass enabled and is also choosing a character they wish to fuse, the characters will do so automatically, meaning it is very hard to do nowadays as it requires at least two 3DSs, two copies of Dragon Ball Fusions, as well as sinking a lot of time into the game so that you can fuse whatever characters you want.
Yeah!
5-way fusion. The last method of fusion unique to Dragon Ball Fusions is that of the 5-way fusion, in which 5 participants perform a dance very similar to the Metamoran fusion dance. They all point their fingers towards the center of the group, and they all fuse to become one. It's pretty self-explanatory. This fusion method, however, was invented by the Ginyu Force in Dragon Ball Fusions, and is passed onto the main character to use throughout the game. The fusion's appearance, however, is determined by which character initiated the fusion. If a Saiyan character initiated the fusion, it'll look like a Super Saiyan. If a Kai initiated the fusion, it'll look like a Kai, etc, etc. It's very race dependent. Too much diversity in the appearance of 5-way fusions, which is quite disappointing. They all look relatively similar. One thing about the fusion's appearance that is intriguing is the difference it has between the Metamoran fusion dance. The 5-way fusion will have 5 large sashes appearing from its back, instead of one coming off the waist, like with the Metamoran fusion dance. It looks kinda cool, to be honest. This fusion method was probably created due to a quote that Toriyama had in an interview when talking about fusion. I think it's possible to merge no matter the conditions, as long as it all goes well. I even think it's possible for a larger number of people. However, since it's quite hard for both parties to strike that delicate balance, it's very difficult for 2 extremely different people to fuse, the artist explained. Link to the article in the description. Not much to say about 5-way fusion, as it will probably never be mentioned again in any Dragon Ball property, ever. Besides Dragon Ball fusions.
Yeah!
God Fusion. God Fusion has only ever taken place once at a very strange event. God Fusion occurred during the 4D movie Dragon Ball Z Super Tenkaichi Budokai, which was only shown at Universal Studios Japan, in which, when fighting God Broly, a version of Broly that looks strangely similar to legendary Super Saiyan 3 Broly, but with some slight differences on his bangs, the audience in the show fuses with Goku to create a fusion. The fusion is shown defusing during the movie, so we at least know that it has a time limit, or a power limit at least. The fusion created by the audience and Goku was called... I don't know, I'm not sure. This fusion is a one-off and very strange at that, so there isn't too much to say about it. But fuck it, it's on the wiki, so I may as well mention it.
Yeah!
Potara Fusion. Potara Fusion is my personal favourite fusion method. The method involves using earrings that are usually worn by the Kaioshin or the Supreme Kais. The earrings themselves both grant the ability for Potara Fusion, as well as the ability to use time rings. The 2 fusees will place the earring on opposing ears, and their bodies will be flung together, followed by a bright light, and then followed by the reveal of the new fusion. The most notable showing of this type of fusion was the fight against Buhon, in which Goku and Vegeta fused using Potara to form Vegito, or Vegerot. Potara is mostly associated and compared with the Metamoran fusion dance, as they seem like polar opposites. Potara doesn't require the users to be of similar heights or similar power levels. This has led to a couple of hypothetical fusions during the Buu arc, such as Goku contemplating to fuse with Hercule and Dende, the former of which, Goku, has been included in Budokai 2, and Dragon Ball Heroes as a playable character. The Potara fusion also does not require a dance or ritual to perform, unlike the Metamoran fusion, making it easier to perform in battle. So far, I have yet to go over the downside of Potara, which is that once a Potara fusion is performed, the fusion cannot diffuse indefinitely, making it a permanent fusion. This was the case until it was retconned in Dragon Ball Super. During the Fusamasu arc, it was changed so that when non-mortals fuse, such as with the case of Goku and Vegeta fusing into Vegito, the fusion isn't permanent. The fusion is only permanent when performed by Kais, hence why old Kai is still fused with the old witch that took his earring. This resulted in making the fusion dance seem somewhat pointless, as there isn't a downside to using the earrings over the dance. It has no training required, and is much easier to use during battle. It only requires that you carry a pair of earrings. It doesn't have any height or power prerequisites either, and can be performed between any 2 people. The retconning of the Potara fusion, however, explained why Goku and Vegeta diffused while inside Buu's body, but that was previously explained as Majin Buu's magic somehow causing them to diffuse. But in my opinion, the change in the rules of the Potara fusion simply made it more broken, made it less balanced. In Dragon Ball Z, we saw the Potara fusions of Vegito or Vegerot, who is the fusion of Goku and Vegeta. The hypothetical fusions of Goku and Dende, sometimes referred to as Denderot or Denku. We saw the fusion of Goku and Hercule, known as Gokul. We saw Shin and Kibito fuse to create Kibito Kai. As we move to Dragon Ball Super, we see fusions such as Fusamasu, the fusion between Zamasu and Zamasu, aka Goku Black. Kefla, the fusion between Kale and Caulifla. We also shown a couple in Dragon Ball Heroes. Xeno Vegito, the fusion of Xeno Goku and Xeno Vegeta. Xeno Vegex, the fusion of Xeno Trunks and Xeno Vegeta. My personal second favourite Potara fusion. Side note, Zarbon wears earrings similar to the Potara earrings, but it's highly unlikely that they are. Next form.
Yeah!
Namekian fusion. Namekian fusion, or assimilation, is a form of fusion that is understandably exclusive to that of the Namekian race. Its first showing was during the Frieza saga, where Piccolo fused or assimilated with a fellow Namekian called Nail. This form of fusion must be performed by consenting fusees, as the fusion is traditionally performed by one weaker Namekian and one stronger Namekian. The weaker fusee consents to their thoughts, memories, energy, strength being absorbed into the stronger Namekian. Once the fusion is over, the weaker Namekian's body fully disappears and dissipates, being fully absorbed into the stronger Namekian. The stronger member of the fusion acts as a host, whilst the weaker party acts as a separate consciousness inside the host body, helping supply information to the main body, acting as a separate consciousness. The fusion process itself seems to be simply one Namekian putting their hand on another's chest, and then a bright flash appears as the non-host's body disappears. As this fusion is more so one body being added to another, unlike the other versions of fusion, the resulting fusion will keep the dominant Namekian's name. For example, Piccolo and Nail fusing to create Piccolo. This type of fusion doesn't have some of the limits that other versions of fusion do either, one of which being the number of participants. As seen during the Tournament of Power arc in Dragon Ball Super, two Namekians, Sinel, and Pilina, the people of Universe 6's Namek, decided to fuse all the Nameks together into two of their strongest warriors, meaning that most, if not all of the Namekians in Universe 6 exist inside of these two, which is kind of intriguing. Granted, it is unknown whether all the Namekians fused into these two, the specific number of Namekians assimilated into them is unknown, but it's still intriguing. Examples of this form of fusion being used throughout the franchise include that of Piccolo and Nail, Piccolo and Kami, Saunel and Pilina, and an undetermined amount of Namekians. In Dragon Ball Z Supersonic Warriors, Demon King Piccolo and Piccolo fuse. And in Dragon Ball Fusions, the player's avatar, if the player chooses a Namekian, can fuse with Piccolo. Also in the Dragon Ball Super manga, we saw the Namekian Saviour, who put in a whole lot of work in the fight against Moro.
Yeah!
Absorption. Absorption is the technique that is only ever used by the villains of Dragon Ball. Given the nature of the technique, absorption is a form of fusion that is usually shown through the act of consumption. A character, the villain, will have an opponent who they wish to have the abilities and or powers of, and they will usually use a part of their body to consume their opponent for their abilities. For example, Cell's tail absorbing the androids, Majin Buu's cut off head / tail / tentacle tendril thing being used to absorb Vegito and Gohan. Absorption as a technique usually differs from character to character, but one thing that they all have in common is that they always drastically change the appearance and or abilities of the absorber. Also, it's kind of the polar opposite of Namekian fusion, as absorption is kind of the least consensual version of fusion. Some characters who can perform absorption can sometimes also absorb life energy from people, but those are two different things. For example, Cell absorbing the life energy from this random man. It doesn't change his form, he's just taking in the life energy. He stabs his tail into the victim instead of using it to consume them. Cell absorbing the androids, however, is different, as he expands his tail and consumes them, and absorbs them into his own body. As absorption changes from character to character, there isn't a whole lot to say, and there isn't a lot of concrete rules about this form of fusion. It would just be easier to go through some of the notable versions of absorption we've seen throughout the franchise. Cell absorbing androids 17 and 18 through his tail to achieve perfection, changing forms each time. Majin Buu absorbing quite a few people. He absorbed the Grand Supreme Kai, he absorbed Piccolo, he absorbed Gotenks, meaning he also absorbed Goten and Trunks. He absorbed Ultimate / Mystic Gohan, he absorbed South Kai. Evil Buu absorbs Fat Buu. Turning Fat Buu into chocolate and eating him still acts as absorption because it's still consumption, it still changes him into Super Buu. Mira absorbs Toa and Toki Toki's egg in Dragon Ball Xenoverse. Since Shenron absorbs all the other Shadow Dragons to become Omega Shenron. Moro in the Dragon Ball Super manga absorbed 73 by literally consuming him, by voring him. There are also a lot more showings of absorption in the franchise, but this video is getting very long already. So if you have more interest, I'll leave a link in the description of the wiki.
Yeah!
Merging. Merging as a form of fusion is quite vague and isn't really defined anywhere specifically in Dragon Ball, so I'll describe it as such. a form of fusion that can be done with multiple people and sometimes inanimate objects. That doesn't use a specific technique. Merging is basically the outlier of fusions in Dragon Ball, as they vary from character to character. But unlike Absorption, which has some set rules, the outcomes and rules of merging change from person to person, unlike Absorption, which is the act of consuming another for their abilities non-consensually. Saying the word non-consensual in a fucking video about Dragon Ball is weird as shit. The examples we have of merging all differ in execution, number of participants, as well as the outcome of the fusion. So getting a concrete definition of merging is hard, so I'll just go through the examples that we have. In the Tree of Might, we have Raisin and Lakase, who merge into an unnamed fusion. In Yo Son Goku and Friends special, in which Tabel is introduced, Abo and Kado merge into Akka. Those examples are pretty basic and make sense, two fusing to become one. In the Tournament of Power, Borueta merged with Pansia and Koitsuki to create that one. The resulting fusion of Koi Sarita merged with Paparoni to create Aguilaza. In the Dragon Ball Super manga, Moro merges with the Earth. Whether or not this is merging is unclear, but the wiki defines it as such, and it doesn't seem to fit into any of the other categories, so it's understandable that it's here. It's possible merging is just, as I said, is the outlier of all fusions. It is simply the category fusions are put in if they don't fit the criteria for other types of fusion. Also, despite being known as merged Zamasu, as previously stated, is a Potara Fusion. Machine Mutant Fusion. This type of fusion is pretty self-explanatory. Only machines, androids, or cyborgs can use this form of fusion. It is mainly used throughout Dragon Ball GT mainly, and the most prolific use of this form of fusion is Super 17, the fusion of Android 17 created by Dr. Gero, and Helltaker 17 created by Dr. Gero and Dr. Mew. Machine Mutant Fusion seems very simple. Two machines fuse. It can be temporary, such as with Kami and Oren in Dragon Ball Heroes. Fusing into Kami Oren, they can defuse. Super 17 doesn't seem as if he has the ability to defuse, though he never attempted to, seemingly so. But it seems that the two different versions of Android 17 struggle for control of Super 17's body, so maybe if the two parties aren't of like minds, the fusion becomes less mentally stable and the two fusees fight for the driver's seat in a sense. As androids don't fuse an awful lot in and out of the canonical series, technically not at all since GT isn't canon, there aren't many well-established limitations or rules to this form, only having around 4-ish showings. In GT we have Rildo fusing with a lot of Mew's robots to create Meta Rildo. We also have Super 17 created from the two versions of Android 17, and in Dragon Ball Heroes we have Kamine and Oren to make Kami Oren, and then we also have Kami Oren fusing with the Universe Seed, which is also classed as machine mutant fusing for some reason and not merging, so I don't know. Beyond these showings, our knowledge on machine mutant fusion on a whole is quite limited. Possession. Possession as a form of fusion is quite strange. Its first appearance was in original Dragon Ball, in which Kami possesses a random dude called Shen, or Hero depending on the dub, to then try and use the evil containment wave on Piccolo Jr. However, its most prolific user is Baby in Dragon Ball GT, and his version of possession seems significantly more powerful and very different from the version used by Kami. Possession allows the user to forcibly take over a chosen body without the body's consent, without the chosen body's permission. Baby's type of possession is quite unique, as it allows him to take over a main body, which will transform over time, as seen when he took over Vegeta's body. As Baby grew in power level, his appearance changed significantly, to the point where Super Baby 2, despite being a possessed version of Vegeta's body, looks nothing like him. Super Baby 2 having a different hairstyle, a different height, and overall just looking different from Vegeta. The process of taking over and changing a main body is often known as tuffleization. When performing possession, Baby may also have other numerous smaller bodies under his control. He manages to control most of the Earth's population while also having Vegeta as a main body. These lesser bodies, however, are different from the main body, as their appearance doesn't really change besides their eyes glowing red. Baby possesses people by entering the wounds inflicted on their bodies, usually in battle, such as cuts and scratches, and then proceeding to lay eggs inside of them, which then gives him full control of their bodies. Kamine and Oren, they probably have a similar ability to possess multiple people and choose a main body, but they've only, so far to my knowledge, I think they've only shown the ability to possess one person at a time. They've been shown to possess Kale and Caulifla, as well as Oren taking over Vegeta and making him his main body, so his appearance resembles Super Baby Vegeta too. Possession is usually associated with Baby, and for good reason, as that ability was the reason Baby was so fucking cool in GT, and also allowed him to beat most of the people on the planet. So let's go through some of the examples of possession throughout the franchise. In Dragon Ball, we have the aforementioned Kami sealing Shen's body, which accidentally led to Kami being sealed by Piccolo Jr. This is the only time in which I think a form of fusion doesn't increase battle power in the series, in my opinion, but it's been a while since I've watched OG Dragon Ball, so take it with a pinch of salt. In GT, we saw Baby possessing Vegeta, Trunks, Goten, Gohan, as well as a character that the wiki calls Unnamed Alien Boy, as well as the majority of the people on Earth. In Dragon Ball Heroes, we see Baby possessing Janemba, Hachiyak, and Super Baby Trunks became a thing, which is kinda cool. We also see Kami and Oren possessing Kale, Caulifla, and Vegeta, and in Dragon Ball Fusions, Baby stole Hirudegan's body.
Yeah!
These are all the types of fusion that I know of and what the wiki knows of apparently, so if I missed anything, let me know. I think this video might be a little bit all over the place, but fuck it. I made this video because all the other videos similar to this on the topic of fusion were all quite outdated, being pre-Dragon Ball Super, so I thought I may as well update the information a little bit. You can call that lazy, but I call it free real estate. I also put Shenron Logs in the title as if I'm going to make more videos about Dragon Ball in this sort of style, but I don't know. I don't know what I would make videos about if I do more of these, so I think if I do make more of these, it might be about the Time Patrol and the Time Breakers and, you know, the Demon Race and stuff, because, you know, people haven't really explored Dragon Ball Heroes, Dragon Ball Online, and Xenoverse's lore all too much. It isn't really talked about a lot or explained a lot in the Western world because, you know, Dragon Ball Heroes is arcade and stuff, being Japan exclusive. So, who knows. I also might just make a video about me complaining about the fucking tingly back for hours because that pissed me off to no end. If you've got any ideas of what I should talk about, or if you hated it, I don't know, let me know. Time for all the stereotypical shit you've heard more times than Bohemian Rhapsody. Like the video if you managed to slog through it this far. Dislike the video if you didn't. Subscribe if you want to see more. Check me out on Twitch, I stream most days. Check out my Twitter where I post nothing. Check out my Instagram where I post even less. And yeah, video's done. With that being said, toodles my doodles, and Toy's underboob is kind of nice.
Now, I'm motivated.
Oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit! Sweet! Groovy.
I would fuck my legs, I'm not even gonna lie.
Brought to you by Josh in Betweener.